Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are you all doing tonight? Tonight we have a free-form discussion. We're talking about nothing but firearms tonight. We're talking about your first pistol / handgun and your first rifle. We don't talk about shotguns because that's some bullshit. For today, we have our other four co-hosts present. Four of our other co-hosts present, I should say. We had a dropout today because she accidentally wrote down the scheduled date wrong. That's okay. No big deal. So to start us off, we are going to go to our big white floof from Virginia. Please say hello, floof.
Guten Tag. Today is rainy with a overcast of bullshit.
With a slight chance of go fuck yourself, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Back to you, Erica.
And then, of course, from the south, we have our very fun redneck from Alabama, but he's living in South Carolina. Please say hello, Stoner.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
And then, of course, we have our friend from overseas, our friend of, well, she's not a friend of Serbia, but she's a friend from Serbia, the former Soviet state. Please say hello, Molly.
Hello, I am a friend of Serbia. How do you do?
No, you better not be a fucking friend of Serbia. That's gonna get you in trouble when you try to move here.
Shit.
And then, of course, we have our ever faithful and always very present co-host, our friend from the Great White North, the Soviet state of Kanukistan, our dirty Frenchy Frenchman, Dale. Please say hello, Dale.
Bonjour. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get ready to talk about some fucking guns.
Don't bring that
Disgusting.
fucking French shit into my fucking podcast. Okay, so we are talking about nothing but guns today. And the important topic is what you should consider when you are buying your first rifle, first handgun. You know, I asked my co-hosts here to come up with some ideas of what they should ask this week, and it doesn't look like anyone fucking did that. You're all in trouble.
It's alright. I could improv gun questions for several hours easily.
Yeah, because
Same.
you're fucking ignorant to gun topics. I get it.
Hey, don't blame me. I'm
Wow.
Canadian.
Okay, so I need to take a look. I need to change a couple things on here so that I can properly swap scenes. Doesn't look like I can do that. That is frustrating. Enable preview. There's supposed to be a way that I can do this, but I can't ever remember it. This is frustrating, guys. It's not YouTube chat. Stats. Multi-view. What? What? Oh, God, Molly! I am...
For those of you in the audience who are confused, Molly just posted a picture in our Discord of a bullpup Marlin rifle.
Okay, that is not a Marlin. That looks more like a Ruger 1022.
No, it says Marlin on mine.
It's a Marlin.
Bullpup
Look.
all the guns.
No.
It's
Bullpups
a
are disgusting.
it's a short well, it's not a short barrel Marlin, and it
You know.
does take 22.
See, it's bullpupped.
Oi.
That
I'm
is
sorry, I thought that was a Ruger. It's kind of like a 1022, though.
well, it is a 1022 and a Marlin lever action mixed together. We're not doing that today.
Oh, we're gonna do it later on.
No, we're not going to do it at all, Molly.
But you said today. Okay.
So,
If
no,
we're not
that's-
doing it today, we're not doing it ever, so shut your fucking mouth.
Okay.
Okay, so I wanted to start this off with Palmetto State Armory. Because pretty much everyone's first handgun is almost always a Glock. Almost always a Glock. So let's go ahead and search up Dagger on the website. And we will go ahead and switch the scene for everyone to see. So we're looking at PSA daggers. Palmetto State Armory daggers. I know that a lot of people have heard of Glock, but we're not doing Glock. We're going to run the gambit. So, Dale, since you are probably one of the least experienced people here with firearms, give me a question.
All right. So, first
Molly,
question,
I'm going to stab you.
Dang it, Molly! Stop posting. Well, some people would call them cursed, but I have an affinity for bullpups.
It looks
so
very
stop,
funny.
Stop posting blurst guns in the chat.
Molly,
All right.
I'm going to
As-
jump through this phone and give you a wedgie if you keep that crap up.
As to my first question, so as someone who is relatively tall and has some pretty large hands, 6'4", have large hands for even being 6'4", I'm just wondering what is would you say would be the ideal gun size, the ideally sized gun for someone with rather quite large hands?
Probably if you're
And as to the comment about my very large hands, sorry, ladies, I'm taking.
yes, you are married. We could go for a full size dagger. For $570. I mean, you've got the PSA dagger full size. It has
Is that
an
like a
RMR cut.
larger- Is that like a larger version of the dagger?
Well, it's the full size dagger. So when you're looking at a pistol type that runs three different categories: full size, compact, and subcompact, you're generally going to look at the original. So the PSA dagger is a copy of the Glock 19 / Glock 17 mix, which is like the Glock 45 or Glock 19X.
Mhm.
It's going to have a shorter barrel with a more full-size grip.
All right.
So, what is the semi-compact one?
The subcompact one.
Yeah.
So when it comes to PSA, the subcompact is the micro dagger, or the dagger micro, which
Is
is
that even smaller than the compact?
huh?
Is that smaller than the compact, or is that the
Yes.
one in between?
It
Oh,
it is smaller than the compact, and in fact, it is the clone of the Glock 43X.
How many bullets does it hold?
Well, because PSA decided to make their own magazines, it is a 15+1 handgun instead of a 10+1.
But
Now,
like,
see-
does that mean that the caliber is smaller because it's a subcompact one? But the
No,
mag size
no,
is
they're
big?
they're all 9mm.
So
How do you fit that?
when they say, like, for example, 15+1, I assume that means one extra in the chamber. Does
It's-
that mean you'd have to manually load the one in the chamber if the
Well,
magazine only fits 15?
gener-
Or does it actually fit 16 and just one goes in the chamber when you load it?
Generally, what you would do if you want to do 15+1 is you'd have multiple mags. You'd load a round into the chamber from one mag, remove that magazine, make it the last one on your carry belt, and then insert another full magazine. Because
That makes sense.
if you manually load a round into a chamber with the magazine, or not the magazine, but the extractor type that these handguns use, which is right here, it's actually going to cause damage to the extractor. You want to avoid chambering around manually. You can do it a few times, but I don't recommend doing it often.
Is that for all pistols or just those specific pistols?
It's a general warning for external extractors. So extractors that are on the outside of the slide, you generally shouldn't hand load into the chamber.
Are there pistols that have internal extractors?
Yes.
Isn't the Beretta M9 one of those?
I believe so. I could check.
While you're checking, are there any either benefits or drawbacks to having external compared to internal extractors? Or is it
Not
just-
really. Beretta. Type. So, Beretta 92s. Yes.
Are Berettas reasonably priced guns?
No. No. And yes, I believe Berettas are internal. Let me go ahead and pull up Beretta on here.
While you were doing that, I see, Z, you said in the chat that your first handgun was a Smith & Wesson. I have just one question for you. Maybe, hopefully, you can answer through Stoner's mic or have him answer. You got a Smith & Wesson. Why did you get a pistol? Why didn't you get the revolver? Smith & Wesson. When you think of Smith & Wesson, you think of revolvers.
Okay, so here we've got the Beretta 92 FS. It's a 9mm. It's $650.
Dang.
Now,
That is one of my more favorite pistols. The main reason I like it is because of its weight,
well,
and it also has a hammer on it.
it's a metal framed hammer fired pistol. It's a full size, but I always hated it in the Marine Corps. They've come out with several iterations of it, but the thing that upsets me most about it is it has a slide manual safety. instead of a frame manual safety.
What is the issue with a slide manual safety as opposed to a frame manual safety?
If you've got small fucking hands, it's harder to reach the safety.
Ah, fair enough.
It's mostly preference.
Now, they've changed things in recent years. I mean, this is the Beretta 92X. It does have a frame-mounted safety.
handgun?
Huh?
I think it's a $1,400 handgun.
Yes. And of course they've got other ones. So the one that they submitted for the modular handgun trials for the military, the M9A4, which is the same thing as a 92, a Beretta 92. It still has the slide mounted safety, but it's also got ambidextrous controls, and it's supposed to have a mounting for an optic.
Well, I thought the military didn't put optics on pistols.
They generally don't, but we're moving into a world where target acquisition is extremely important, more important than it's ever been in the past. And the faster you can get on target, the better. You can still do that with iron sights with a lot of practice, but something that a lot of people have learned over the past half decade is if you learn a red dot optic system, eventually your acquisition on iron sights also gets faster.
That's good.
Good to know. And I assume the same is not true in the inverse.
No, it's not, because when you're training just for irons, you learn how to line up sights on 3 points. You've got your back iron, which has a groove in the center and then 2 posts. And you have to learn to pay attention to those 2 posts and your front sight, which is supposed to make a post in the center of those 2 posts.
So about posts.
When
Dale, you remember me showing you last week
yeah,
the different
I do.
kind of iron sights?
Yeah.
So-
Yeah,
Don't
me
you
and
need
Stoner
like?
Sorry?
Don't you need like just the front and the back post lined up together?
Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to acquire your rear sights, acquire your front sight in the center lined up with the rear sights, and then you're supposed to put blurry sights on a clear target. So
Right.
that step, or those several steps combined, that makes it extremely difficult to line up an accurate shot quickly. You
What
can
do mean
get
by put blurry sights on a clear target.
so when you're shooting for accuracy, you do not pay when you're looking down your sight picture. Actually, let me see if I can't find target
I mean,
acquisition.
Joe, it's like taking a picture
iron
with a camera.
sights.
It's one of those old cameras.
Blurry sight clear target.
Oh, I got a question.
Okay, target acquisition.
Wait,
Oh.
wait.
Hold on. So this this person is asking about. So this post says, I have been shooting USPSA off and on for a while, but recently shooting falling steel due to the availability in my area. Shooting iron sights, what I have recently been questioning is how are people seeing targets between shots? Obviously, in a large spread, like a lot of USPSA setups, I would be looking downrange and drawing a bead to the next target. But in a situation like a plate rack, in my mind, I want to stay with more or less front sight focus and find the next target through the sights, but have not been successful. What I have noticed in my dry fire, and supported by a lot of misses on the range, is that my non-dominant eye is tricking me on the transitions. In these situations, I can either shoot with one eye closed or transition my focus from target to sights for each plate, which feels slow and inefficient, but maybe that's just my eyes. I have no trouble from the holster getting on target with a front sight focus or even calling my shots, but what I'm wondering is what is the best way to transition between targets. I have searched for instructions or pro tips online, but haven't found anything that actually covers this, so I'm wondering what other shooters are doing and what I can do to improve. So when you're acquiring a target and you're lining up your shot, your first focus is your rear sight. Your next focus is your front sight. And you put those two lined up on your target, and then you transition your focus from your sights to your target. So your sights should be completely blurry, and your focus should be on your target.
Oh, that makes sense.
Mm.
And the problem with irons, especially learning how to shoot, is everyone wants to close an eye. And that's great for accuracy when you have time. But that's not great when, you're in the heat of the moment. So you need to learn how to superimpose your sight onto a target. And that's where red dot sights come in. That's what makes red dot sights completely worth it. Because you only have one sight to focus on, and you have your sight picture. With both eyes open, you can bring your handgun up, be looking down the sight with one eye and at your target with the other. And even though the red dot is slightly blurry, you've transposed that sight on top of your target, and you will get an accurate shot if you've zeroed your red dot correctly.
Good to know.
If you learn on a red dot, you can quickly transition to iron sights and pick that up much faster than you would. Because learning on a red dot, you're forced to have both eyes open. And
So,
if you learn how to do that on a red dot, you can quickly learn to do that on irons.
so you'd recommend to someone first-time gun buyer to start on a red dot and then...
Yes.
All right.
Now, I used to be very snobbish about this, especially when I was in the Marine Corps. When I went through boot camp, we had nothing but iron sights because we were working with M16A2s. There was no mounting system for RCOs. But when I got to MCT and eventually got to the fleet, all of the weapons were M16A4s and M4A4s. And those had mounting systems for RCOs, also known as ACOGs, And so my shooting became more accurate, but I thought you should still learn how to shoot irons. It wasn't until I moved and became proficient with my Glock 43X that I realized it's easier to learn on a red dot, and then you can easily pick up irons afterwards because you're learning to shoot with both eyes open.
Quick question. So, is learning to shoot with a handgun, and does that transfer over to shooting with a rifle and vice versa, or are they very different?
There
Like, are-
there there are some similarities and there are a lot of differences. The big difference is the way in which you support the weight.
Right.
So with a pistol, you don't have 3 points of contact with your weapon.
Right.
You only have your two hands. And so you have to learn how to
Well, or at least that's what you tell the ATF.
Yes. That's what you tell the ATF because it's true. So with handguns, you have 2 points of contact. It's both hands, and so you have to learn how to shoot and lock out your joints, so that by the time the recoil impulses reach your shoulders, there's nothing left to feel in the rest of your body. Whereas with a rifle, you've got 3 points of contact. You can dig in with your shoulder. You have one hand on the pistol grip, and you've got one hand on the handguard, which is much further forward. You have a much more sturdy structure in the way that you're shooting. You don't have to worry about the recoil impulse, because instead of having to lock out your joints, your entire body is absorbing that recoil, or at least your entire torso is absorbing that recoil.
Is there ever any danger of getting injured from the whole locking out of the joints for when firing a handgun?
Only if you're stupid. For instance, I'm sure we've all seen the video of the person that's shooting for the first time. They've got a revolver and it takes a double shot.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if I can pull it up. Revolver double shot accident. Is this the right?
Does the person
Yep.
end up getting hit in
Yep.
the head
This-
by the
This is the one. No, they do not. I need to switch accounts.
I got a question.
Hold on.
What's the difference between each kind of bullet?
Just hold on. I'll get there. Okay, so this is a guy shooting a revolver for the first time.
Oh, I've seen this.
It's a .454 caliber at a shooting range in Budapest, Hungary.
Of course, it's a Hungarian.
Now, for anyone shooting a high caliber revolver for their first time, I do not suggest having a double action trigger. That's fucking stupid to do. Learn on a single action trigger if you're going to shoot a revolver. Slow motion. Pull the trigger for a shot, second shot. Again, first shot, second shot. Again, first shot, second shot. That is dangerous.
Yeah. I noticed he was shooting it where he with rather bent arms. Is that should one be shooting with their arms kind of bent like that, or should you be shooting with
Yes.
your arms completely
This
straight?
this this is how you learn how to lock out your joints. So if I'm on target, I'm turning my elbows outward and my shoulders are kind of turned outward. And that keeps me on target, and that's going to absorb the recoil impulse.
That's good. So it's less it would be more dangerous to shoot with your arms completely extended, locked out like that.
Yes. And in fact, that's probably the only thing that saved him from shooting himself in the face.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ro was asking a question.
Bro, what was your question?
Here's what the difference between the bullets are.
You got to be a little bit more specific than that.
You know, they got HE, hollow point.
Oh, you're talking about like what's the difference between a hollow point, lead soft tip, full metal jacket? Oh, may I take this one?
Yeah, go ahead.
But first, I'm going to need some pretty pictures. So let's circle back to this one while I get pretty pictures.
Cutters.
One type that I was less familiar with, you mentioned is something called a lead soft tip. What is?
Hold on, just wait a minute. Okay.
Here's
I found
a picture for you.
9mm bullets. Oh, you got a picture? All right. Okay, now, okay, let me pull this back up. Come on, you stupid piece of junk work. All right. You see the one on the far left?
Yeah.
That is a full metal jacket. As you can tell, that is a metal jacket, usually copper, surrounding a lead core. Whereas the one on the far right, that is a hollow point. As you can see, the little cavity there in the nose of the bullet, surrounded by a copper jacket.
Yeah.
All right. And the one in the middle, that looks like a wad cutter.
It is a wad cutter.
Yeah, that's a wad cutter bullet.
So
And full metal jackets, like the one on the left, they're more likely to penetrate a lot deeper than, say, a hollow point on the right. Because whenever a hollow point hits a soft target, it flattens and mushrooms and makes a larger exit hole and causes more internal damage. And as for the wad cutter, basically looking at just a solid slug, a solid cylinder of lead. Yeah, that looks like it'll cause some damage too.
Well, there are three types of ammunition here, and they each have their own purpose. So the full metal jacket, that's for testing the ballistics of a round against things like steel, ballistics gel, that sort of shit. The next one is the wad cutter. The wad cutter is for target practice. Now, the full metal jacket, aka the ball round, it's still used for target practice because they're one of the cheapest rounds to make. There's very little that's involved that you have to do, and they're great for auto-loading pistols like Glocks, like SIGs. Wad cutters are better for revolvers. And they call them wad cutters because they use them against paper targets. These are rounds that were commonly used for target practice for sheriff's departments and police departments back in the 70s and 80s.
Is there a reason why you wouldn't want to use a wad cutter on like actual targets?
It's not going to have... Well, there is no reason why you wouldn't use them against something like steel targets or normal range backdrops, but it's specifically made for paper targets so that you can clearly see where you hit the target.
But what I mean,
'Cause
is there a reason why you wouldn't want to use it on like a live target, like in an actual self-defense situation?
It's not going to have very much penetration. We are talking about lead. It is extremely soft. The reason why we jacket bullets in the first place is to increase the mass so that we can get more penetration.
And if I remember correctly, the first country to introduce full metal jacket bullets was the Swiss.
Hmm.
What were people using before for full metal jackets?
Just standard issue, plain old lead bullets.
Actually, no. I think it was France that did it.
They were the ones to come up with smokeless cartridges.
Based France.
Yes, they came up with smokeless cartridges, but I also think
And the world's first standard issue repeating rifle for military service, the LaBelle.
Yep.
Based.
I thought the
Oh,
LaBelle
Cabernet.
cartridge was the first jacketed cartridge.
No, they used, if I remember correctly, they used solid lead bullets to start with.
Okay. That's my bad.
I've been watching CN Arsenal, and they covered that before.
Okay, so from left to right, this is a 32 ACP full metal jacket. This is a common revolver round. To the center is a 32 Smith & Wesson long wad cutter, which is another revolver round. And then to the right, you have a 380 ACP jacketed hollow point, which is a common auto-loader pistol round. So Glocks, SIGs, Rugers. 380 is commonly used for semi-automatic handguns. And the thing about 380 ACP is the bullet itself has the exact same dimensions that a 9mm cartridge uses.
Mhm.
It's just a shorter cartridge. You can technically fire a 380 out of a 9mm, but it's not going to cycle.
Kind of like how you can shoot 45 long Colts out of a 410 shotgun.
Yeah.
Can you do the inverse? Like, can you shoot a 9mm out of a?
No. No. So when you're talking about these pistols, the thing that you have to remember is each pistol is made for a certain amount of pressure.
Right.
Let's see, Colonel Edward Rubin. Okay. So each cartridge, each gun is made to take a certain amount of pressure. You don't put a 5.56 cartridge in a 223 rated rifle, because the 5.56 cartridge, even though it has almost the exact same dimensions, uses the exact same bullet, it is actually packed with more powder, and it has a slightly longer bottleneck on the round to increase the pressure when you fire the round.
Mm-hmm.
You can put a 223 through a 556, but you cannot do it in reverse. You cannot put a 556 through a 223. It's going to cause damage.
And also that, but the headspace in the chamber would also be messed up too, which can cause a whole host of other problems.
Well, it's the same headspace. It's just different pressures. At least with 223, 556.
I was fixing to say, I thought the 223 versus the 556, they had a little bit of a different taper to the bottleneck.
Headspace specs, 1.4636 inches. It is... So, yeah, no. It's not the exact same headspace, but a 223 would be in spec with the 556 headspace.
That's good. It's just the bullet pressure. I mean, cartridge pressure's different.
All right. So, back to the topic of first handguns. Now, personally, I really like revolvers. So, would there be any reasons why you should not start out and have your first handgun purchase be a revolver instead of a pistol?
So revolvers, they're nice. They're great for collector's items. But if you're going to get into self-defense, this isn't something you're going to want to carry. Even with
Does it have enough rounds?
even with speed loaders, it doesn't have enough rounds.
And also, if you're using like one of those heritage revolvers, they don't have swing out cylinders like modern double actions do. These single action revolvers, you have to pull the hammer back to half cock and manually eject each spent cartridge out the cylinder one by one, and then reload them one by one.
Because there's an ejector rod on the revolver.
It's right there under the barrel.
Right, so you have to manually pull back the hammer for each round you fire?
Yes, on that one too, you have to pull the hammer all the way back to cock it. But to unload and reload, you have to pull it halfway down into half cock. That frees up the cylinder to rotate freely.
Is someone mute Molly? She's annoying me.
Yeah, I think Molly fell asleep.
Molly fell asleep.
Thank you.
It's okay. Someone type in the chat to her, let her know that we've muted her.
Yeah. So, because I have heard on the internet, so we know it must be true. But I've heard that one should also get a revolver just because to acclimatize yourself to the harder trigger pull of a revolver as opposed to the lighter trigger pull of most pistols. Is there any truth to that?
No.
No.
I was fixing to say it depends on if you're using a double action or a single action.
Yeah, well, and that's the point. So something like this Taurus 856 CH38 special revolver, that would be a double action only trigger because you can't pull back on a hammer.
Right.
It has an internal hammer, but you can't cock it yourself.
Interesting. How about for something like a 45 Smith & Wesson? Is that single or double action?
Well, it really just depends on the pistol that you buy.
Oh,
You
so
can
it's
get it
still
in both double and single action.
why would anyone get it in single action then? Like it seems more of a hassle to actually have to manually pull back the hammer every time if you don't have to do it. Are they
Most
maybe
most people that are going to be shooting single action are competition shooters or trick shooters.
Cowboy action shooting.
Yes.
also what is that revolver on the bottom left? Is that just like a super long barrel?
Yes.
Never seen
If
that.
I remember
It's a
correctly, those
16-inch
are called
revolver.
bunt lines.
Sorry, what are they called?
I think those are called a bunt line special.
Oh.
They were mostly associated with people in the Western era who kind of had something to prove, if you catch my drift.
Or if you're old enough to remember, there's a movie from the early 90s with Arnold Schwarzenegger called Last Action Hero.
Ah, yes, great movie.
The bad guy from that movie had an extremely long ass revolver.
That is quite the revolver.
The only
Unfortunately,
bad
it only
thing
shows
about those is
600.
they're so front heavy.
Yeah. The only unfortunate thing about that is it seems it's chambered for 22 LR.
Yeah,
If
most.
you get something that size, put like a big cartridge in it, right?
Okay, so let's see.
Let's see here. What about that 454 Casull?
454 Casull. So you've got Taurus, and these are Hunter 6.75 inches, 5.12 inches. Those are out of stock.
I don't see any 45 long Colts in the. Hey, hold on. What about?
Let's see, 40 Smith & Wesson. So let's take 454 Casull out. 45 Smith & Wesson. You've got a couple.
Oh, they even had some 500 something less.
Kind of disappointed they don't have any 45 long Colts in there.
It's not a common round anymore. Okay, and now we'll look at 50 AE. You're not gonna get anything in 50 AE. But the only thing that you're ever going to find here is a Magnum Research BFR 50 AE revolver.
Guess what the BFR stands for?
What?
Big fucking revolver.
Based. Is 50 AE bigger or smaller or the same as 500 Smith & Wesson?
I don't know. But 50 AE is a 50 caliber.
Very nice.
It's
Hold on, I was just thinking about something, Erica.
Huh.
Isn't the 50 Action Express a rimless cartridge?
I don't think so.
So
Can
you
you
would
pull
not.
up the machine, please?
So you would not recommend me getting that as my first handgun.
No.
Oh, wow.
No. Oh, yeah, they're rimless. I'd like to know how in the world they managed to get a rimless cartridge to fit in a revolver.
That is not rimless.
Look up a 45 long Colt.
I thought you were asking 50 Action Express.
That's what I was asking. But no, look up
Okay.
45 long Colt. That's 40. What is that? Is that 45 ACP?
No.
Apparently 45 Colt.
Oh, that's not what I'm after. Hold on. Point 45 LONG. Damn it. LONG.
Okay, so 50 AE wouldn't go for it. No, if it's your first gun, there's a couple or a few different ones that I suggest. So, if you can't afford regular 9mm pistols, I'd go with Palmetto State Armory.
What would you recommend if money was not an issue for your?
If money was not an issue, then I would go for the 6-hour P226. It is a hammer fired. This is the pistol that the SEALs went with back in the 1980s when the rest of the military adopted the M9. And in fact, it should have won out over the M9 because it had fewer malfunctions in the trials. The only reason they didn't is because Beretta sold the M9 cheaper than SIG sold the 226.
Do the SEALs still use this one, or have they switched to something else?
The SEALs still use this as far as I know. Especially after all of the fiascos that the P320s have had over the past decade.
Right.
Okay, Erica, I just uploaded a picture.
Okay.
Alright, you see there at the very bottom of those cartridges how it's got that little lip outside of it?
Yeah.
That's what I was talking about whenever I was saying rimmed versus rimless.
Okay. Well, yeah, no, I can understand why you'd say that.
Oh, by the way, that's a 7.62x54R cartridges that was used in the Mosin Nagant, the Russian versions of the Maxim. The Dragunov fires it,
Okay,
and
so
I think a couple other Russian machine guns use it too.
Dale, when
Yeah.
Stoner was talking about soft tip, the one in the center, that is a jacketed soft tip. So the jacket has been it almost completely encapsulates the lead, except that little tip at the end, that gray tip, that is exposed lead.
That
What
is
is the
one of my
point of-
more favorite cartridges to hunt with.
What is the point of that as opposed to having it fully jacketed?
So a fully jacketed round is almost always going to be a through and through. But when you expose the lead, it's actually going to expand and mushroom. It's going to create bigger cavitation in whatever you're putting the bullet through and create a much larger trauma track.
Oh, and Dale, that's also why it's illegal to hunt with full metal jackets.
It is?
Yes.
Over penetration.
If you're out deer hunting and a game warden catches you with full metal jackets in your rifle, guess who's getting a ticket?
Are they allowed to check your rifle to see what kind of ammo you're using?
Yep.
Yeah, game wardens, they have certain powers that most other law enforcement officers don't have.
As a matter of fact, in some counties, if a sheriff gets in trouble with the law, it's either the game warden or the coroner that can arrest a sheriff.
Really, the coroner?
Yep, either the county coroner or a game warden.
Fascinating. Can the coroner arrest anyone else, or you just only arrest the sheriff?
I think it's only the sheriff.
Okay, so the 226, very reliable. And then you get into the others. So if money's not an issue, the Legion 226.
What does the Legion have over the regular 226?
It has a much more finely tuned trigger assembly. The Legion series is made for competition. It's supposed to make it, and if you can see there on the screen, those two slots in front of the front sight, that's actually porting. That's to expel excess gas and bring you back down on target faster.
That's useful.
Hey, Erica, if somebody had money to burn, would you recommend the 5.7?
The 5.7?
Mm-hmm.
What is the 5.7?
Okay. Go to guns. Handguns. Okay, go down to where it says cartridges. Right there, 5.7 by 28 millimeter. Bingo.
Okay. We're
Yeah.
talking the good old P90 cartridge.
Yep. The Goa Old Killer.
The what killer?
The Goa'uld killer. So, if you've seen Stargate, they transitioned from the MP5 in the beginning of the series to the P90. The cartridge that the P90 was developed for was the 5.7 by 28 millimeter. It's supposed to be an intermediate rifle that can also be used in pistol. So it's a large pistol round, small to intermediate rifle round.
I bet you that thing got a lot of zip to it compared to a 9 millimeter.
Probably. I generally wouldn't recommend 5.7. Just
Because
simply
of the price?
simply because of the price. I mean,
The
you
ammo's gonna
can.
be a lot more expensive.
It's all about the availability of rounds. If the rounds are there and there's no demand for other rounds, it may actually go down in price. But almost everyone wants 5.56 and 9 millimeter.
I kind of prefer 7.62 by 39.
Yeah, I know you do.
I prefer practicality over lightweights.
Now, if you really, really think that, if you really don't have a cost limit on your first handgun, you could go with something from Bull Armory. Now, Bull Armory has double stack 1911s.
Oh, that's cool.
Handguns. So you've got the ultralights. And while these have internal hammers, it is what's called a double single action.
The double single
So,
action?
yeah, so the first shot you're going to fire is a double action trigger pull. But it's going to, once it cycles, it's going to cock the hammer. And every subsequent shot, when the weapon cycles, is going to be single action. Because the hammer's already been cocked.
And also, the trigger pull should be a little lighter.
Much. And then you've got the EDC. This is the one that I would carry. This is a 4.25-inch barrel with a cut for a Trigicon RMR. Or no, actually, it looks like it's cut for the Holosun 407 and 507K. Oh no, it comes with adapter plates.
What are adapter plates?
Adapter plates go on... So, some companies make what are called MOS. So it's... modular optics systems. And what'll happen is when you get the gun, it will be milled for their adapter plates, and then each adapter plate you can put on a different type of optic. So if you've got the adapter plates for an RMR, a Holosun K, and an RMSC, you can mount the Trigicon RMR, you can mount the Holosun 507C, the Holosun 407K, the Holosun 507K, the Holosun there's another Holosun optic that is designed to mount on the 507K platform. It's the EMS and the EMS carry. I think. In fact, I can take a look. Or the EPS. Pistol red dots, brand, Holosun. So I have a 507K on my pistol. It's the EPS and the EPS carry. That is not a bad deal.
Right.
So these are milled for the 507K platform. Especially this one. This is the one that I would want. It has that backup red dot sight so that if you have your slide cut with a race cut instead of a dovetail, you actually have a backup iron sight, and you don't have to have separate iron sights on the rear. My 43X is cut for a race cut. I have no rear sight. My 507K actually has backup sights. Although this is cheaper than it used to be to get one of the green dots. It used to be much more expensive. And one of these days I will be replacing my 507K. When it comes to the daggers, so Palmetto State Armory. So when it comes to the daggers, specifically the micro dagger, there are some differences between each type of micro dagger. So this is the Micro C1. Now this has the exact same barrel as the 43X or the normal PSA Dagger Micro, but it has a slide the length of a Glock 48. And the reason they've done this is they've again put porting in the top of that slide. They've put in a built-in compensator on the pistol. That's to bring your pistol back down on target faster. Because instead of all of the gases being expelled out of the front of the muzzle, there are gases expelled out of the top, which pushes the pistol back down. And then they have full-on 48, like Glock 48 length slides and 48 length barrels. So this has a slide the exact same length as the last one we looked at, but you can see the barrels coming all the way out the front.
Right.
Now these all use the exact same guide rod and guide rod spring system, so a lot of these parts are interchangeable. You can in fact put a barrel from a micro dagger into the full length slide. You're just not going to get the benefits of the compensator, and you're probably going to yeah, you have a good night, Molly.
Good night, Molly. Well, I was curious. Molly woke up and then realized she fell asleep and then said good night.
Okay, so you're probably going to get a lot of soot buildup if you put a 43 barrel in a 48 length slide.
Are you gonna at all damage the slide?
You're not gonna damage the slide. You may cause damage to the mounting for the front sight, but honestly, if you've got a red dot optic on it and you've got a fresh battery, I wouldn't worry about it.
would there be any reason to put in a shorter barrel into the gun, or wouldn't it just make it less? It would just reduce the velocity of the round by a bit by reducing the barrel length.
It's going to reduce the velocity a little bit. I mean, we're talking about the difference of like 3/4 of an inch. And in 9mm, that's not going to make much of a difference.
Right. Well,
Uh,
would are there any benefits of swapping it out for the smaller barrel, or is it just if you only have the
If-
barrel, then
if you're going to carry inside the waistband, I'd carry the one with the shorter barrel and the shorter slide. This is what I'd recommend. Especially if you're going to do what's called appendix carry.
I was actually just about to ask about that. What do you recommend to someone who a first time gunner? How should they carry? Like
You
waist,
should
appendix, the
you
other
should
one?
learn how to carry in several different methods.
Right.
So you should have at least 3 different belts. You should have at least 2 different holsters that can run the gambit. And you should be able to carry inside the waistband appendix, inside the waistband 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock if you're left-handed. You should be able to carry outside the waistband 9 o'clock or 3 o'clock on the hip. And you should be able to carry a tactical drop holster.
What is tactical drop?
So tactical drop is for when you're running a plate carrier. Your plate carrier has 4 plates. You've got one in back, one in front, and one on each side. And if you've got a short torso like me, carrying on your hip is almost impossible because the plate carrier is going to get in the way of you being able to draw your sidearm. A tactical drop is basically dropping your holster in your gun from your hip down to your thigh. It's still connected to your belt, but it gives you that breathing room so that you can actually reach down, grab your pistol, and draw it without any sort of interference.
All right, good to know.
And when you're talking about self-defense or combat situations, it comes down to efficiency of motion. Whichever carry position you are more efficient in drawing your weapon and coming up on target, that's the position you should be carrying in best.
Right.
Now, for people like me with a shorter torso, my most efficient, or my 2 most efficient, are outside the waistband 3 o'clock and drop tactical.
Are there any carry positions you think someone new to guns should avoid, either initially or just altogether?
If you are skittish about having a weapon that doesn't have a manual safety on it, and you are not practiced in keeping your clothes out of the way when you're holstering your weapon, stay away from appendix carry.
All right.
And it's not because appendix carry is inherently more dangerous if you know how to do those things, but you're pointing directly at your femoral artery. And if you have not built those safety mechanisms into your manual of arms, it's going to be dangerous.
All right. I'll keep that in mind. Mm, Are there any like what guns might not have those manual safeties?
Any
Like,
Glock,
most-
most semi-automatic striker-fired pistols do not have manual safeties.
do they have any sort of safety or?
Oh yeah, they've got tons of internal safeties. So
what is
all
the danger for not just having an internal safety as opposed to a manual safety?
there really isn't any danger to having internal instead of manual. Manual safeties are something that have been created specifically because the military has a bunch of fucking retards for service members.
Fair enough.
So
Care to elaborate on that?
yeah, so the 1911, that was like the big pistol of the 20th century.
Yeah,
it's
two world wars.
We
It's
finally talk about the 1911 and Molly
and
left.
yeah. So when the 1911 originally came out, there was no manual safety on the pistol. There was no handguard safety on the pistol, and there was no hammer decocker lever on the pistol.
May I
So-
explain why? Or
Huh?
why I think that was? Because what kind of service pistols was the U.S. Army using up until that point?
Revolvers.
Ding, 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 ding.
And most people that were carrying revolvers were carrying single action cocked and locked.
I think the 38 revolver that the military started using before they adopted the 1911, I think that was double action.
It may have been a single double action, but again, most people were carrying cocked and locked. And
they
the
were
way
carrying the gun with it already cocked.
they were carrying it with it cocked, and they had leather holsters, and the safety strap would actually go in between the hammer and the striker pin, or the firing pin. So if by any chance the trigger did get pulled while it was in their holster, the hammer wouldn't be able to strike the firing pin and it wouldn't discharge. This is how they carried the 1911 to start. But people were being stupid and they shot themselves. And so they asked John Moses Browning to create a manual safety. And he did. And it was great. It only added one action to the entire thing. Just sweep the safety as you come down and you're fine. But service members were stupid. They'd sweep the safety and they'd pull the trigger before they had even finished drawing the weapon. And so then they developed the handguard safety, or the grip safety, which is this nifty little piece on the back of the pistol. You have to depress it enough to disengage it. And you have to have swept down that safety. But people were getting the same issues. People would disengage this safety, they would disengage the manual safety, and they'd pull the trigger and hurt themselves again and again and again. And eventually, just out of sheer anger, they asked John Moses Browning to come up with a hammer decocker. Now, I don't think there's a decocker on this one.
Before you finish, I have to head out for the night, so
Yes,
I will
yes.
talk to you later.
You have a good night. Please say goodbye.
Goodbye, Strain. Don't shoot yourself in the foot.
Good advice.
Take care.
There you guys.
Bye. All right. So I noticed that we are coming up on the hour and a half mark. Do you think we should jump into rifles now, as we spent most of the
Yeah,
time?
sure. We can jump into rifles.
All right. So, what would you recommend for someone first-time rifle purchaser?
ARs.
Right.
Always ARs for me.
I would recommend going with an AK first.
Why an AK?
You shut your whore mouth.
Because they are easier to disassemble. They have less parts than an AR does. And they're very, very easy to learn on.
Yeah, ARs are not that difficult to learn.
At AR-15, you take a handful of sand and throw in it, the thing locks up. You do the same thing with an AK-47, that thing just keeps on running.
That is old school. That is before they made any revisions.
So they did correct.
Yeah, I've run AR-15 style rifles throughout my entire adult life. So the M16, the M4, actual AR-15s, I've run them dry. I've run them dirty as fuck. And they will take everything you throw at them.
Can you do push-ups on the magazine
Yes.
of that rifle? Really?
Uh-huh.
And not damage it?
Maybe not the plastic magazines, but I've never used the plastic magazines. I've always used metal mags.
Yeah, I like them aluminum mags.
So...
But yeah, an AK-47, pretty much all you got to take off on it is the dust cover, the buffer spring, the bolt carrier group, then you take the bolt out of it, and then you pull off your gas tube, boom, field stripped, ready to clean. Whereas on an AR-15, first you gotta break it in two, take out the bolt carrier, then the charging handle, and then you've got like umpteen million things on the bolt you gotta take out, and don't lose.
Well, and there, that's all dependent on the caliber that you're firing. For instance,
45 millimeter.
Yeah, if you're using 5.56, but why the fuck are you using 5.56? If you already have a 9mm handgun, or if you're planning on buying a 9mm handgun, why the fuck aren't you using a 9mm AR?
Why would you? It's not what that rifle was originally chambered in.
It doesn't matter what the rifle was originally chambered in. We're talking about efficiency.
How cowboys used to carry 45 caliber and lever guns and 6-shooters.
If you're going to run a caliber for self-defense, run it across the board. Everything else is just sugar. Everything else is just collection. If you're going to run a self-defense round, run the self-defense round along the entire gambit. So, I have a 9mm AR lower. I have a 9mm AR upper. And I have two 9mm AR bolts. The 9mm AR bolt doesn't lock. It doesn't need a gas tube. It is
It just
straight.
operates on blowback.
It is straight blowback.
You know, I was just thinking about this. If I remember correctly, I want to say Colt, back in the day when they were making M16s, I want to say that they did develop a full auto 9mm version of the AR or M16.
Now, if budget is an issue, then there's a few things that you can do. You can buy completed lowers separately, buy complete uppers separately, or even buy stripped lowers. So
Is it cheaper to buy them separately than to just buy the whole thing?
no, because if you're buying it online, it has to go through the exact same way. If you're getting something that has a lower or just the lower itself, it has to be shipped to your FFL, and you have to pick it up from that FFL.
Hey, do they have any fixed stock lowers? Like for our M16A1 or A2?
I don't think so.
Poo.
So
I don't
what
think
would
there'd be much call for it.
That sucks.
What would be your recommendation? Once again, money was not an issue for an AR.
If money was not an issue for an AR,
Yeah.
May I show a picture of my favorite AR?
have at it.
Pretty please. Alright. Now, mind you, it's a PSA AR. But okay, I got the picture here. There it is. This is a PSA replica of the Car 15 that was used in Vietnam.
Very nice. What
It even has
that?
the 20-shot magazine that was common back then before they adopted 30 rounds.
Erica, what website is that?
I cannot say it on YouTube.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but look
Interesting. Could you post
look
it in
at
the chat?
yeah, I'll post it in the chat.
So YouTube
Yeah,
actually.
YouTube hates guns and people that own guns.
Really?
Okay, so this is
Tommy, what do you expect?
this is the PSA. Not PSA. This is the Descent. This is a 9mm.
And
Now this-
also, for YouTube purposes, that is just a 29-round mag.
Yeah. This is an AR lower with a 9mm AR upper, 6.5-inch barrel with a flash hider.
I think I saw that in Cyberpunk.
Let's see, it has radial delayed blowback compact action. This is a good backpack AR. If money is no option to you, I'd go with this. And if money is an issue, but you have like $500 to spare over a month and a half, like every 2 weeks for a month and a half, I'd say go for it, because you could do this for 4 payments and have it before you finish paying it off.
Oh, that's good.
That's actually how I got my current upper for my 9mm AR. I had it before I finished paying it off. That's also how I got my Dyson Airwave.
So I noticed that there are, on that website there are 4 different models. Right? There's the Descent, there's the Banshee, there's the Resolute, and there's the Endeavor. What are the differences with those? Well, I mean, the Descent looks a lot smaller, for example, but what are the differences between the others?
So the Banshee doesn't have radial delayed blowback. It is a true AR pistol. So there is a pistol brace on it.
And by the way, that is to help hold it onto your arm so you can hold it steady.
Right.
Then you go to the Resolute. The Resolute is a full-size AR. 16-inch barrel, adjustable ripstock, M-lock free float handguard. It is available in 9mm. And then with the Endeavor, I believe that's their AR-10 offering. Fixed position stock, aircraft grade aluminum receiver, M-lock free float handguard, Cerakote, 18 to 24 inch barrel lengths, lifetime guarantee. Okay, so it's not their AR-10 offering, but it offers higher pressure ammunition than just normal 5.56 by 45 pressure ammunition, like the 6.5 Creedmoor.
Interesting.
20-inch barrel. We're talking the size of the average M16A4.
Those sound useful. And out of all of those, you'd recommend the AR pistol as opposed to the full-sized AR?
It is my big thing is we're about to get rid of the NFA. Once we get rid of the NFA, it doesn't matter if you've got a stock on the back of this. I mean, you've got an MP5 style charging handle. You've got the AR lower. You've got... It's much more compact. But you'll be able to have a stock on it once the NFA is gone.
Really think they'll get rid of the NFA?
They are going... The Supreme Court is going to have no choice but to square this circle. Their Bruin decision changed the entire landscape. The NFA does not work with the Bruin decision because there is no analog for the NFA. There is no analog for the GCA. And any analog that there may have been has been invalidated by the 14th Amendment.
When we get done with this stream, I do have something I want to discuss with you, if it's okay.
Absolutely.
I assume something not YouTube friendly.
I know it would be YouTube friendly, but it's just not something I want to get into during a stream.
Ah, fair enough.
Maybe it's something we can discuss next week or the week after.
Possibly.
But I mean, I was thinking as hot and heavy as the feds are going against anything Second Amendment related or civilian firearms ownership related, that they would be fighting tooth and nail to do everything possible to keep weaponry out of civilian hands.
They already are, but see, they've already lost one of the most important ones for them to win. That was the Cargill case.
But what's to keep the feds from doing what's that thing where they try to put a new amendment in the Constitution?
A constitutional convention?
That. But
They
what's to
don't
prevent
have-
the feds from doing that
They
and
don't
passing an
have-
amendment to nullify the second?
They
They
don't
do not
have
have
the
the
voting power.
Remember, you need 2/3 majority of both. You either need 2/3 of the state, I think, or 2/3 of the state.
You need two-thirds of the states or 3/4 of the entire population.
Now, is this something that everybody votes on?
It
Or-
can be it can be something that the entire country votes on.
Well, what's to keep? Okay. Now we all know why we have the Electoral College, right?
Uh-huh.
Well, wouldn't all the big blue cities just outvote everybody else?
No.
No.
You that would assume that 150 million people are in Chicago, New York City, Los Angeles, San Diego, and San Francisco.
Don't forget Seattle.
See, it still doesn't matter. They do not have the voting power. They have enough when it comes to the Electoral College, yes. They don't have enough when it comes to a constitutional convention.
Yeah, it's a much higher step.
Because
thankfully, there are a lot more small population red states than there are big population blue states. And
well, and it's not even red versus blue, because we're coming into the age of the anarchist. We're coming into the age where anarchism is not only becoming, it's not only a fad now, it's becoming a way of life for a lot of people. And a lot of people in the anarchist lifestyle have realized you need firearms.
Okay.
And so
I'm
if-
going to ask it because I know someone is going to.
yeah, go ahead.
Do you have a source to back that claim up?
Which claim?
That we are becoming more and more anarchist in our thinking.
Not that the country is, but there are growing numbers of anarchists, including people that came or that are coming from the left. No, I don't have stats to back it up. But every day I see more and more people from the left that are, especially after 2020, that are becoming more and more disenfranchised by our government, by the people that they voted for.
actually, I do kind of have a stat, I think, that can point to, yes, anarchism is becoming more prevalent. It's becoming more popular. and that is, I mean, all right, what is the most widely watched what's the biggest podcast in the world? Right, it's Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan, yeah.
How many times has Michael Malice been on Joe Rogan?
Quite a
Random
few.
times, right?
At least 5.
Yes. So the fact that actual anarchists are on the biggest podcast in the world multiple times explaining their beliefs to a much more mainstream audience than any anarchists have ever been on before, that alone is evidence that it's becoming more mainstream.
Well, that's good.
It's And not only that, he's not even the only anarchist on the big shows. Right now, as much as we like to dunk on Tim Pool for, well, being Tim Pool, he also has a rather big show that also prominently features also noted anarchist Luke Gronkowski often, and Michael Malice, and a bunch of other, more, if not directly anarchists, but at least much more freedom-oriented people on it. Also, yeah, much more in the in the mainstream than it ever has been before.
I'll be honest with you, I'd a lot sooner listen to Joe Rogan or Tim Pool as I had Ben Shapiro.
Michael Malice has even been on Ben Shapiro's show. So that should tell you something.
I need to find the thing from Tim Pool this week.
Which thing?
Him talking about quitting.
Oh yes.
I wonder.
Oh,
if
why
I
is he
posted
gonna
it.
quit?
YouTube took another one of his videos down because it's what they do. He expressed wrong thing.
Ah, yes. And it was posted for the quartering. Let me pause it, and I need to pull it over. Give me a second here. Okay, and let's go ahead and put it back up. Twitter. Okay, so this was recorded from the after show. They were taken down like an hour and a half into their show.
Guys, I'll be completely honest. If the show got banned right now, it'd be a huge weight off my shoulders. I don't make money from the show. It's really stressful. I work 16-hour days. I could work 8-hour days and then skate the rest of the day and still be rich. And this is extremely difficult. People get mad that we don't tell them all the details. Why? We can still get a strike. We can get a strike right now, even though the show's been deleted. Doesn't matter. I can get a call right now from Google and says, we don't care what you did, we're banning you. And so I'm desperately struggling to navigate censorship waters so a show can exist that will have a positive outcome that resists things like vaccine mandates, rushed vaccines, whatever your argument is. It can help push back against things like open borders, the dissolution of our community, and kids getting their balls chopped off. But you can't just do that by being an ogreish retard who runs full speed at YouTube's gates screaming, fuck you, over and over again.
Yes, I can.
Dude, Tim Pool, you know how much money we get off of our podcast?
0.
Yeah, and guess what? We do it anyways. Why? Because not only are we doing a public service, but we also have fun doing it.
Well, and here's the thing. He's saying he doesn't make money off of it. That's disingenuous. That's disingenuous.
In West Virginia that he didn't have before the show.
Huh?
Not exactly. I said he has a giant house in West Virginia that he didn't have before the
Yeah,
show.
exactly. And here's the big thing. He's making at least $60,000 a night on his live streams.
Not bad.
That's
I wonder how much money he rakes in just from his subscription service alone.
let's see, 60,000, 5 nights a week, 4 weeks. It's $1.2 million a month. If you
I wonder
can't
what those
pay,
profits are.
if you can't pay yourself, all of the overhead and all of your employees with $1.2 million a month, you shouldn't be in this fucking business.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, $1.2 million. Let's say he lives on a mansion. Lives in a mansion in West Virginia. What is the expense of the mortgage on that? $10,000 a month? So $10,000. Then you've got electricity, say it's on 24/7. That's a high fucking bill. Call that $3,000 a month. And that's on the high side. Then you're in West Virginia. You might be using natural gas for the furnace in the winter. Spread that out for a large mansion, $1,500 a month. Oh, crap. I gotta go back.
Well, I just want to say, myself personally, I wouldn't be buying no big mansion. I'd be happy with a double wide trailer.
Then you've got water. Call it another 1,000 a month. Then you've got the dedicated line, the dedicated servers. And the like the high speed internet, and it's got to be commercial grade, so that's another $3,000 a month. Now that's just the mansion, and in the month you've only lost about $18,500. And then you're talking about transportation for all of your guests, all of the cars that you need, maintenance on all of the equipment. We'll call that another $10,000 a month. And that's just for local expenses. Now, flying people out to you. Call that another $50,000 a month. Just for shits and grins. And then you're left with $1.1215 million. So just over $1.1 million a month. Divide that up into 50. If you're doing an even split across the board for all of your employees, that's $22,430 a month before taxes. I don't make money. My fucking ass.
I think he's just spoiled.
Well, one could make the argument that he's reinvesting a lot of the money, like a lot of the profit, back into the company. Like he could be spending that on various other projects and such.
He could be. That I wouldn't discount that.
Yeah. Like a lot of people, like owners of companies like that, do reinvest a lot of the money they normally would be making back into it. So it could be that he's just dumping a bunch of the money that he could be making back into the company with hopes of growing it even bigger.
Yeah, it could be that. And he could just be pulling a decent salary, like $4,000 or $5,000 a month. But then the question becomes, what is he doing with $1.1 million? Let's take this number. $1,121,500. Let's say everyone gets the same salary. And he's got 50 employees.
Correct.
And he's doing a meager $4,000 a month for everyone. Because in West Virginia, that's pretty fucking...
Yeah,
That's pretty fucking high pay. That's $200,000. What is he doing with $900,000 a month? After everyone's monthly salary, there's $921,500 left over, and that's just on estimates of expenses for where they are.
Oh, I also thought about this too. Something else we didn't factor in. How much do you think he's paying Uncle Sucker every year in taxes?
That's true.
That's why you filter all of the expenses through the business.
Right. Well, one
And
other
that's-
expense that I think would be notably high that we can account for is, you know how he often advertises on Times Square, those giant billboards on Times Square.
Mhm.
That's probably really expensive.
Okay.
Times Square. So
So-
I'm not sure how much it costs to pay for one of those, but I figure that can begin to add up really quickly.
So let's call it another $500,000 for all of the billboards that he's using. That still leaves you with $421,500. So what is he doing with it? The name of the game in business is operating at zero sum, or operating below what you're bringing in,
Right.
so that you don't have to pay taxes through the business at the end of the year. What is he doing with it?
No idea.
Logic would say you're paying the employees the remainder. Or you're putting it into their retirement accounts. But again, that doesn't change the fact that he's saying he makes no money. He does make money. Or is he just not pulling a fucking salary? Because that's fucking stupid.
I think that's what he's saying. That I think he's. If I had to guess, I think he's either investing most of his profit back into the company or just not pulling it a salary, which I would agree is stupid. Because he has often talked on his show about how they put all the money they make back into the company. So it could just be that, which I agree is kind of dumb. If he's doing that,
there's nothing wrong with putting money from the business back into the business. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with investing in your employees. But not pulling it.
6 just jumped in. Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Luna. Luna has muted herself. Oh,
I don't know why it was muted. Sorry about that. I didn't realize that it was basically over. I didn't even realize it was 6.
It's okay because we're gonna be doing this next week.
Yeah, you missed most of the gun talk. Coming back just for the end of Tim Pool.
Yeah, we
Um,
would like to. Yeah, Luna, we'd like to have you on next week. That way, so you can give us your insights as well.
Yes, absolutely. Especially after the shit show that I woke up to between Luna and Juliet and a bunch of fucking idiots on Twitter.
What was that?
Yeah, they come out.
Oh.
Hey, look, they come after. They come after my. They come after my little Gundam buddy. They're gonna have trouble.
Is this more certain people shouldn't have guns bullshit?
Some of it, yes. Anyways, so we have hit 7 o'clock, and we have successfully streamed for 2 hours, not only on YouTube, but on Twitter, aka X, as well. And that is the end of our show. Does anyone have any parting thoughts?
Fuck the ATF.
Yes, fuck the ATF. Fuck the
I don't
NFA.
even have to have-
Fuck the GCA.
I don't even have to have been part of this, and like I have to have been here for the stream to like wholeheartedly agree with that.
Well, my parting thought would be I really love the Militech heavy machine gun my girlfriend was using in Cyberpunk.
Okay, with that said, we are going to give our outros, and then I'm going to play the music for everyone, and we will see everyone next Saturday, both on Twitter and on not Twitter, both on YouTube and X. And hopefully we can get more people on X to start watching, because we actually had 10 viewers on X today.
Alright. Oh, also don't forget we've now begun uploading all the stuff from YouTube onto Rumble as well. You can check us out there as well. This
Yes.
will be on Rumble soon as well.
And I will start adding the links from now on to any corresponding videos that we post on Rumble.
Right.
I'm gonna be honest. It just kind of dawned on me. I'm a little surprised that you haven't been uploading these to like Odyssey.
Didn't think about that. We can add the. I haven't really used Odyssey much, but I can look. I can definitely look into that.
I know that's basically the go-to for for example, I'm in the 3D printing gun community. That's basically like the go-to location for file uploads, like the catalog and like Control Q. I'll direct to there.
Oh, one last
Gotcha.
final thought. Visit thegatalog.com.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're gonna
there.
get banned. We are gonna get banned on
Absolutely
on
not.
on YouTube now.
Absolutely do not go
Positively,
to
do not visit the catalog. Whatever you do, do not go there. Wink, wink,
do
nudge,
not go
nudge.
to Control Q's Get Starting Guide.
Okay,
Do
with
not go over to over to Ovis Rails and use code PSR. That would be absolutely awful if you did that.
with that said, and our soon to be banned YouTube channel, let's go ahead and start the outros with our
Just say Antifa was harassing us. It works on Twitter.
Antifa was harassing us. Let's go ahead and start with our resident of the state that doesn't exist. Please say goodnight, Luna.
Good night. It was fun to be here for the, 2 minutes that I've been here.
5.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
You see, time works differently here.
And then we will go ahead and go to our Southern redneck, formerly from Alabama, currently from South Carolina. Please say goodnight, Stoner.
Good night, everyone. And also, before I do go, hi, Mom. Love you.
And then, of course, let's finish out with our friend from the north, our co-host, our dirty Frenchy Frenchman from the Soviet state of Kanukistan. Please say goodnight, Dale.
Au revoir, le monde. Good night, everyone. I will see you next time.
And with that, before I give everyone the music, I just wanted to let everyone know we will have a show next week, but the subsequent 2 episodes will not come, or the subsequent 2 weeks, so the 25th and the 1st, there will not be a show, and I will be talking with my co-hosts about that after we sign out with you tonight. But stay tuned. We will keep everyone updated on our future schedule. I hope everyone has a good night. We will see you all next week.